What would you do if someone laughed at your life's work right to your face, not knowing who you really are? The restaurant gleams with quiet elegance, bamboo screens, and subtle lighting, a sanctuary of understated wealth where Hollywood elite escape. Prying eyes, Steven sits alone in the corner booth, his preferred spot at Aikido's, the high-end Japanese fusion restaurant he purchased 5 years ago. Without fanfare, few know he owns this place. He prefers it that way, a refuge from the spotlight, from the jokes about his movies, from the critics who forgot his earlier masterpieces, from the whispers about his faded glory. He wears simple clothes tonight: black button-up, dark jeans, hair pulled back, no entourage, no flashy jewelry, just a man enjoying sashimi in peace. 20 years since his martial arts prime, when he brought Aikido to the mainstream, when audiences gasped at his fluid movements, before the direct-to-video years, before the internet memes, before the parodies replaced respect with ridicule. The new Waitress approaches his table. Melissa, 24, film school graduate, liberal arts degree, and liberal politics, sharp tongue and sharper judgment, struggling actress with mounting debt, working here 6 weeks, now dreaming of her big break, resenting every plate she carries. She hasn't recognized him, yet most don't these days, not without the ponytail and leather coat, not without the dramatic squint, not when he's just quietly eating alone, not when fame has faded just enough she refills his tea without asking, a small kindness, the steam rising between them, a momentary connection. He glances up, thanks, her voice softer than his screen persona, eyes kinder. She pauses, head tilts, recognition dawns in her eyes, not the recognition he hopes for, not respect for the restaurant owner, not admiration for the martial artist, not gratitude for the job that pays her rent, but the gleam of mockery, the private joke about to become public, the chance to elevate herself by diminishing someone else. Steven sees it immediately, reads it in her posture, in the slight curl of her lip. He spent decades reading body language, anticipating attacks before they come, preparing for the verbal strike. Melissa can't help herself, the words tumble out, each one a small betrayal of professional courtesy. So you're like that action star, right? The one who runs weird, the one who thinks he's Japanese. She mimics his running style, arms stiff at his sides, an exaggerated version of his on-screen movement. A caricature of the man before her. Steven says nothing, sets down his chopsticks, folds his hands, face impassive, the discipline of 40 years of martial arts, creating a stillness that speaks volumes. The older staff freeze, Hero, the chef, watching from the kitchen doorway, Maria, the hostess, wincing at the reception desk, the busboy stopping mid-stride. They know who owns Aikido's. They know the quiet generosity behind his stern exterior, how he's paid for employees' medical bills, college tuitions, green cards, how he remembers their children's names, how he visits their families when tragedy strikes. But new staff aren't told immediately Steven's request. He wants to be treated normally, wants to gauge character without his name creating fear, wants authentic interactions in a world of fabrication. So Melissa continues, unaware of the tightening silence around her, unaware of the career she's dismantling with each word. Your movies were my dad's favorite. She laughs. I watched one recently. The one where you whisper everything and like never move your arms, just your hands. Chop, chop. She demonstrates again, wooden movements, exaggerated whisper, a performance for nearby tables who shift uncomfortably, some recording discreetly on phones. Tomorrow's viral video taking shape. My roommates and I, we have drinking games now. Take a shot every time you squint or speak in that weird voice or pretend to know martial arts. Steven remains perfectly still, not anger in his eyes, not embarrassment, just calm assessment, the patience of a predator, conserving energy, waiting for the perfect moment. These weathered worse criticisms from bigger names on larger stages with higher stakes. But this restaurant, this sanctuary, he created his private space. The one place where merit matters more than celebrity. The chef steps forward, about to intervene, wooden spoon gripped tight, face flushed with indignation. Steven raises one hand slightly, almost imperceptible. Hero stops, understanding the signal, the silent command, let it play out, let her reveal herself fully. Melissa doesn't notice this silent exchange, too caught in her performance, too pleased with herself, the high of momentary power of punching up, not realizing she's punching down. I've been working on a screenplay, actually film theory major. She leans in conspiratorially. It's about cultural appropriation in martial arts films, you know, white saviors, Orientalism, that whole problematic genre. You probably wouldn't understand. Steven nods. Once sips his tea, the slightest smile playing at his lips, not amusement, something deeper, something patient. Behind her, the restaurant manager appears. Eric, 10 years at Steven's side, from film sets to business ventures, his most trusted friend is. Right-hand man, Eric's face tight, with controlled fury, ready to fire her on the spot, to escort her from the premises, to defend his mentor's honor. But Steven catches his eye, a barely perceptible head shake, not yet patience, timing, the fundamentals of both combat and life. Before we continue, comment where you're watching from. Melissa finishes with flourish. Well, anyway, enjoy your meal, sir. The mocking emphasis on the last word. She walks away, laughing, with another server pointing back at his table, not seeing how other staff avoid her gaze, not noticing their uncomfortable silence, not reading the room that has gone still like air before a storm. Steven returns to his meal, methodical, precise movements, the discipline of decades visible in how he holds his chopsticks, in his perfect posture, in the calm of his breathing. What she doesn't know, what she can't see, is the display case in his office upstairs. Olympic medals, championship trophies, ancient scrolls from Japanese masters, certificates of honorary citizenship from villages he's helped rebuild, photos with real masters, not the Hollywood version, but the quiet warriors who saw his genuine dedication. What she doesn't know is that her tip tonight will exceed her weekly salary, despite her words, despite her mockery, because principles matter more than pride. What she doesn't know is that tomorrow, everything changes. Eric approaches Steven's table, sits without invitation. 20 years of friendship allowing such liberties. This has gone too far. Eric's voice, low, controlled, anger vibrating beneath. You need to tell them, show her who you really are. Steven sets down his tea, wipes his mouth with deliberate care. Some lessons cannot be told, must be experienced. Eric sighs, recognizes the tone, the philosophy that has guided his friend's life, even when cameras weren't rolling. She'll be working the charity event tomorrow. Eric reminds him, the one for the children's hospital, with all the donors present, with the demonstration you promised. I know. Steven's eyes follow Melissa as she performs for another table, mimicking his signature moves again, her audience growing, her confidence with it. She's from the new generation, digital natives raised on memes and mockery, where nothing is sacred, where reputation is currency, spent in likes and shares. Perhaps I've been forgotten for good reason. Steven's rare moment of vulnerability, exposed only to his oldest friend. Eric shakes his head. They've forgotten because they never knew the real work, the discipline, the donations, the lives changed. In the kitchen, Melissa continues her performance for two other new servers. Look at him sitting there, so serious, so full of himself. Doesn't he know his career is over? Doesn't he know we're laughing? Hero slams his knife down, startling the kitchen staff. The head chef's face dark with disappointment, his voice sharp as the blade. You mock what you do not understand. You judge what you have not earned. You speak from ignorance and call it wisdom. Melissa rolls her eyes. Whatever, it's just jokes. Can't anyone take a joke anymore? She turns away, misses the fury in Hero's eyes, misses the respect in the sous chef's face, misses the lesson offered freely. Steven pays his bill, leaves the generous tip, as promised. Principles before pride, character revealed in private moments. When no cameras roll, when no recognition comes, he stands, nods to the staff, who know him, who respect the path he's walked, who understand the weight he carries. Upstairs to his office, simple space, functional furniture, nothing ostentatious, nothing screaming of wealth except one wall. The display case gleams under subtle lighting behind glass that costs more than a car. Artifacts of a life devoted to mastery. He opens the case, fingers tracing the edge of an ancient wooden box inlaid with mother of pearl, given to him by his first sensei 50 years ago. Now inside, what few have seen, what journalists never discovered, what Hollywood never exploited, the original handwritten scroll from the founder of Aikido, Morihei Ueshiba, passed through generations. Eventually to him, not for fame, not for movies, but for the purity of his practice, for his devotion to the art. This treasure worth millions, to collectors priceless, to practitioners the philosophy that shaped his life, that Hollywood simplified, that critics dismissed, that waitresses now mock. He closes the box, returns it to the case, locks it carefully. Tomorrow, it will leave this sanctuary for the first time in decades. Not his plan, but plans change when lessons must be taught in the dining room. Eric watches Melissa, still performing, still mocking, still unaware. The older server, Maria, approaches, her voice low and urgent. You need to stop. You don't understand who he is. Melissa laughs. I know exactly who he is. Washed up action star, cultural appropriator, pretend tough guy living on past glory. Maria shakes her head. Not just the movies. The restaurant he owns at all of this is his. Melissa freezes, color draining from her face, the revelation hitting like cold water. You're joking, tell me you're joking. Maria's silence, confirmation. Enough. Oh God, I'm fired, I'm so fired. Melissa's panic. Rising, the rent due next week, the student loans and forbearance, the medical bills unpaid. No, Maria surprises her. He never fires anyone for first mistakes, no matter how bad. That's not his way. Then what happens? Melissa whispers, fear replacing mockery. Humility finding root at last. Maria looks toward the office upstairs, where light still glows behind frosted glass, where decisions are being made, where tomorrow is being shaped. You will see at tomorrow's event. Just be prepared to learn something about judging books by covers. In his office, Stephen makes a call to his oldest teacher, now 92, living in Kyoto. Voice still strong despite the years. Master, I will need the scrolls tomorrow, all of them, the ones you entrusted to me. The history must be shown when words alone won't reach. The old man's laughter crackles through the phone. Finally, after all these years, you understand the true purpose of knowledge preserved is wisdom shared. Stephen ends the call, looks out over his restaurant. The empire built quietly, while critics pronounced him finished, while the industry dismissed him, while the internet mocked him. Tomorrow, the demonstration changes from entertainment to education, from performance to proof. A lesson 30 years in planning will finally be revealed. Morning comes. Melissa wakes with dread, her phone exploding with notifications. A video, her mocking Stephen, going viral, 3 million views, and climbing. Comments flood in, some laughing with her, some condemning her. The internet's judgment swift and merciless. As always, her roommate enters, coffee in hand, face grim. So you mock Steven Seagal in his own restaurant without knowing he owned it? That's like career suicide level bad. Melissa groans, buries her face in pillows. I know, please don't remind me. But the roommate continues, it's worse than you think. Do you even know what today is? The charity event? For the children's hospital? The one all over social media? The one where he's demonstrating his Aikido mastery? The one where he's bringing out his private collection? The one your restaurant is hosting? The one you're scheduled to work? Melissa sits up, horror dawning. I thought that was just some promotional thing some has been trying to stay relevant. The roommate shows her phone, the event page, major donors, hospital administrators, martial arts champions, Japanese cultural ambassadors, all attending, all witnesses to her imminent humiliation. She dresses for work, hands shaking, considers calling in sick, but knows that path leads to certain termination. While showing up at least offers hope of apology, of redemption, of continued employment at Aikido's. The transformation is complete. Private dining room converted into demonstration space, mats laid out, seating arranged, cameras positioned for the live stream, benefiting the hospital staff, briefed on protocols, on serving techniques, on the importance of today, for the restaurant's reputation, for the charity's funding goals, for the children waiting for treatment. Melissa enters, head down, trying to become invisible, failing completely. The other servers, some sympathetic, some schadenfreude in their eyes, some keeping distance, as if her imminent doom might be contagious. Eric sees her, approaches with clipboard, face unreadable. Professional mask firmly in place. Yuri still on service today. Main floor section, not the event itself. Consider it a mercy. She nods, relief washing through her. Maybe escape is possible. Maybe consequences can be avoided. Maybe this nightmare ends with mere embarrassment rather than unemployment. But Eric isn't finished. After service, you will attend the demonstration. You will watch, you will learn, you will understand what you mocked so freely. Yes, sir. Her voice small. The confidence of yesterday evaporated like morning dew. The day progresses, tension building, guests arriving, the restaurant filling with dignitaries, with donors, with martial artists from various disciplines, all paying respects, all showing deference to someone Melissa dismissed as irrelevant. From the kitchen, Hiro watches her, his disappointment palpable, his judgment heavy as he prepares special dishes for honored guests. The busboy Santos, mopping nearby, speaks without looking up, his voice soft, his English broken, but his wisdom intact. I was nobody when I came here. No papers, no money, no hope. Mr. Seagal, he paid lawyer, he found apartment. He made me someone when no one else saw. Meihei moves on, leaving Melissa with another piece of the puzzle she never bothered to solve before passing judgment. The hostess shares her story of medical bills paid when her daughter needed surgery. The bartender speaks of college tuition covered when his scholarship fell through the line. Cook mentions the dojo built in his neighborhood, keeping kids off streets, teaching discipline, creating community. Each story Another stone on the mountain of evidence against her hasty verdict, each witness, another voice testifying to character she failed to recognize. The event begins in the private room, live stream, broadcasting to screens throughout the restaurant floor. Staff to witness for guests to watch as Stephen takes center stage. Melissa serves her tables, half attention on her work, half drawn to the screens, where the man she mocked stands dignified in traditional GI, the white uniform of a true practitioner. Crisp and formal respect in every fold his voice carries through speakers, calm, authoritative, without the Hollywood affectations she parroted so cruelly. Today is not about me, it is about tradition, about lineage, about the responsibility that comes with knowledge, about supporting children who deserve every chance to find their own paths, to discover their own strengths, to overcome their own limitations. The audience applauds. Melissa pauses, tray in hand, watching despite herself, as Stephen introduces masters from various disciplines, each bowing deeply to him, each showing respect she cannot comprehend. In the corner, a display case, brought from his office, contents hidden for now under red silk cloth, guarded by two Japanese men, elderly but alert. Their posture speaking of lifetime dedication. Young woman approaches the microphone. Dr. Emma Chun, lead oncologist from the Children's Hospital. 2 years ago, I reached out to 10 celebrities seeking donations for our new treatment wing. 9 never responded. One called personally, not only offered funding, but visited our patients monthly, without cameras, without publicity, without seeking credit. She gestures to Stephen, who bows his head, uncomfortable with praise, with public recognition of private virtue. Dr. Chun continues, today's demonstration will help us reach our final funding goal, will help us save more children, thanks to a man who understands that true strength lies in lifting others. The applause thunders. Melissa's hands tremble as she delivers drinks to guests whose eyes are fixed on screens, where her mockery's target now stands revealed as something more than she ever imagined. The demonstration begins. Stephen moves with unexpected grace, not the stiff movements from his later films, but fluid precision, economy of motion, the true essence of Aikido. His partner attacks a younger man, muscled and quick, throwing full-force punches, real attacks, no choreography, no pulled strikes. Stephen redirects, barely seeming to move, energy flowing through him. Around him, the attacker's own force used against him, physics and philosophy united. Melissa watches between tables, transfixed, despite herself seeing the truth behind the caricature, the master beneath the memes, the depth beyond the surface. A second attacker joins, then a third, multiple angles, multiple threats, Stephen moving between them like water, finding path down mountainside, natural, inevitable, efficient. The audience gasps at particularly impressive throws, at the control demonstrated, at the respect shown to opponents, redirected, but never humiliated, never injured, always honored in the exchange. This is Aikido, Stephen explains, not about defeating enemies, but about harmonizing energy, about finding peace within conflict, about protecting all involved, even those who mean harm. Melissa delivers, plates mechanical movements, mind elsewhere, on the growing realization of her monumental misjudgment, of her catastrophic arrogance. In the kitchen, she finally breaks, hands shaking too much to carry trays, eyes blurring with tears of shame, of regret, of self-recrimination. She slips out back door into alley behind restaurant, sinks down against brick wall, face in hands, uniform stained with tears. How could I be so stupid? So quick to judge? So eager to mock? So blind to reality? The door opens, spilling kitchen light into alley. A shadow falls across her, hero arms, crossed face, stern. You cry for yourself, not for him, not for what you did, but for consequences you face. She looks up, startled by truth, stung by accuracy of his assessment. You rewrite, I'm pathetic, I don't deserve this job, I should just quit, save everyone. The trouble hero shakes head, disappointment evident, running away, another weakness on display. He sits beside her, unexpected companionship in moment of despair. I came to America 30 years ago, trained as sushi chef in Tokyo, but no one would hire me, too young, too arrogant, too sure of my superiority. Melissa listens, tears slowing, confusion replacing shame. Stephen found me working dishwasher at cheap buffet, recognized knife calluses on my hands, asked to see me cut, offered job same day, never mentioned my arrogance, never reminded me of rescue, just offered opportunity to become my best self. He stands, offers hand to help her up this job, Not just about serving food, about serving growth for those willing to learn inside the demonstration, continues Stephen, now teaching simple techniques to children from hospital, some in wheelchairs, some with four poles, some with missing limbs, all faces bright with joy, with inclusion, with possibility. The audience watches many filming not for mockery, but for inspiration, for evidence that limitations exist only in mind. Eric approaches Melissa, sees her red eyes, her disheveled appearance, her obvious distress. Take 15, compose yourself, then report to event room. Time to face music, time to learn lesson, time to grow beyond mistake. She nods, grateful for kindness she doesn't deserve, for opportunity she hasn't earned. In employee restroom, she repairs makeup, straightens uniform, practices apology that feels inadequate before mirror that shows only surface, not the churning beneath. When she emerges, Santos, the busboy, waits, silent witness to her transformation. He hands her small card, worn at edges, carried long in wallet, importance evident in care shown. The card reads, "True victory is victory over oneself. Morihei Ueshiba, founder of Aikido. Mr. Seagal gave me this when I wanted to fight those who called me illegal, those who said I didn't belong, those who wanted me gone." Santos takes card back, carefully returns it to wallet, like sacred text, like precious artifact, like philosophy that saved him. Melissa walks to event room, stands it back against wall, trying to disappear into shadows, into anonymity, into safety. But Stephen sees her eyes meeting across room. No judgment there, no anger, no resentment, just awareness, just presence, just acceptance of what is. He continues teaching, now demonstrating with master from Japan, ancient techniques preserved through generations, hand-to-hand transmission of knowledge, of wisdom, of way of being. The red silk cloth still covers display case, still hides secrets, still waits for revelation. Its time approaching, its purpose clear only to those who know what lies beneath. Dr. Chen approaches Melissa, whispers in her ear, "He asked for you specifically to assist with next segment, to hand him the artifacts, to be part of ceremony." Horror floods her face. "No, I can't, I shouldn't, after what I did, after what I said." Dr. Chen's expression, kind but firm, sometimes the hardest path is exactly the one we must walk. She guides Melissa to edge of demonstration area, where Stephen now speaks of history, of legacy, of responsibility to preserve what previous generations entrusted to our care. In life, we face many opponents. He tells the audience the strongest, most persistent, most dangerous is our own ego, our own pride, our own self-deception. Melissa feels words like physical blows, like personal message, though his eyes never return to her. Never single her out, never expose her shame publicly. The audience silent, now leaning forward, sensing importance of moment, unfolding of wisdom, shared of revelation. Approaching Stephen, gestures toward red cloth, toward hidden treasure, toward physical manifestation of invisible principles. "Now, I will show you what has never been displayed publicly, what was entrusted to me by my teacher and his teacher before him, not because I was famous, not because I was wealthy, but because I demonstrated the one quality that matters most in preserving tradition." He pauses room, holding collective breath, Melissa's heart pounding in chest and ears and throat. Humility, the word hangs in silent room, like judgment, like invitation, like challenge, like opportunity for Melissa. It sounds like salvation. Before we continue, comment where you're watching from. Dr. Chun nudges Melissa forward. Your moment, your choice, your path to understanding. She steps onto demonstration floor, legs, wooden mouth, dry heart racing under watchful eyes of everyone she mocked, everyone she disrespected, everyone she must now face. Stephen acknowledges her with simple nod, no recognition of yesterday, no mention of viral video, no public shaming, just professional inclusion in ceremonial moment. "Please assist me," he requests, voice calm, as if she were any server, as if history didn't hang between them like sword. She approaches display case, stands beside him close enough to see the weathered hands, the calluses of decades, the small scars of real training, not movie magic, not camera tricks, but evidence of path walked. Two elderly Japanese men step forward, formal in movement, traditional in dress. One carries wooden box aged cedar with brass fittings, smooth from centuries of handling. The other holds scroll case lacquered black with gold inlay, ancient by appearance, priceless beyond measure. Stephen introduces them. Master Takahashi, last living student of Aikido's founder. Master Yamamoto, keeper of historical archives from Hombu Dojo. They bow to audience, then deeper to Stephen, conferring status Melissa never imagined Revealing position in martial hierarchy, she never understood the younger master speaks his English accented, but clear with purpose. We come today, not just for charity, though that mission is worthy, but to correct historical record, to honor properly. One who has walked the path with true dedication despite public misconception, despite commercial pressure, despite easy paths offered. Melissa holds position though legs tremble, though shame burns, though every instinct screams to run, to hide, to escape judgment that surely comes next. The elder master, now nearing 90, speaks through translator voice, strengthened by importance of message. When Hollywood called him many years ago, we advised against going, feared commercialization would corrupt his practice, would dishonor our traditions, would reduce sacred to spectacle. He pauses, looks directly at Stephen with affection evident, with respect undeniable, with bond transcending language, culture, time. We were wrong, his journey necessary, his choices vindicated, his dedication proven through decades of quiet work away from cameras, returning to Japan annually for continued training, for deeper study, for preservation of our art. Melissa watches transformation occurring before her, the action star caricature dissolving, completely replaced by something authentic, something earned, something beyond celebrity, beyond mockery, beyond her shallow judgment. The red cloth, now removed, reveals display case, content scrolls, ancient and yellowed photographs, black and white certificates with gold seals, handwritten manuscripts, artifacts spanning centuries, cultural treasures preserved through generations, entrusted to unexpected guardians. Stephen gestures to Melissa to open glass case, to assist presentation, to participate in unveiling of history. She denied of legacy, she mocked of truth, she ignored. Her hands shake as she turns key, as she lifts glass, as she becomes part of ceremony unfolding. Stephen lifts first scroll, unrolls it carefully, holding edges with reverence, with practiced hands, with appropriate honor. This document, certificate of mastery, signed by founder himself, granted to my teacher, who granted it to me not for fame, not for movies, but for 30 years of dedicated practice before I ever saw a camera. Melissa stares at artifact, at tangible proof of depth beyond surface, of substance behind style, of reality beneath perception. The elder master speaks again through translator, words measured, meaning weighty. We have watched Western misconceptions grow, have seen internet mockery spread, have witnessed reduction of lifetime dedication to punchlines and parodies, but we have also seen his continued devotion, his private training, his financial support of dojos worldwide, his preservation efforts for techniques vanishing with each master's passing. Stephen now holds wooden box, ancient and simple, unadorned except by age, by history, by significance. From this box, he removes folded cloth, cream-colored cotton, hand-woven texture visible even from distance. This belt, first given to founder by his teacher, passed through generations, now temporarily in my care, not owned, never owned, only preserved for future students, for continuation of path. The audience murmurs, understanding significance, appreciating rarity of artifacts displayed, of tradition revealed, of history unfolded before them. Dr. Chun whispers to Melissa, do you understand now what you were mocking, who you were judging? Melissa nods, words inadequate for epiphany experienced, for paradigm shattered, for lesson administered without cruelty, without vengeance, without ego. Stephen continues presentation, each artifact with story, each item with provenance, each piece connecting present to past, student to teacher, practice to principle. Throughout demonstration, he never mentions his own accomplishments, his own titles, his own positions earned in martial hierarchy. Instead, focuses on lineage, on responsibility, on honoring those before, on preserving for those after, on maintaining connection between generations, between cultures, between philosophies. The event transitions to fundraising portion, donors now understanding depth of commitment of man, hosting event of restaurant, supporting cause of tradition spanning centuries. Melissa returns to periphery, to shadows at room's edge, to private processing of public revelation. Eric appears beside her, watching her face, reading transformation with experienced eye. Now you see what we couldn't tell you, what had to be experienced, what needed to be earned. She nods, unable to speak, unable to articulate the seismic shift in understanding, in perspective and judgment. He was never concerned about your mockery. Eric continues, has weathered worse criticism from more significant sources for much longer time than why this? Why show me? Why include me? Why not just fire me? Questions finally, finding voice, confusion, seeking clarity. Eric smiles, first kindness shown since her viral infamy. Because this is who he actually is, teaching over punishing, elevating over diminishing, including over excluding, the principles of Aikido applied beyond mats, beyond physical technique, to life itself. Melissa watches Stephen, now auctioning items signed. Memorabilia, film, props, restaurant experiences, all proceeds to hospital, all focus on children, all energy directed toward genuine good. The contrast stuns her between her assumptions and reality revealed, between surface judgment and depth discovered. Between mockery offered and dignity maintained, the busboy Santos approaches, bringing water, offering silent support in moment of revelation. He was like you when he started. Santos shares quietly, thinking he knew everything, learning he knew nothing. Growing into knowing how much remains unknown, the wisdom startles her, coming from unexpected source, teaching arriving through unlikely teacher, lesson continuing beyond formal demonstration. Santos continues in broken English, carrying profound truth. Judge by what they do when no one watching, when no praise comes, when only principles guide. These words settle into Melissa's consciousness, into permanent memory, into foundation for reconstruction of shattered assumptions, of collapsed worldview, of humbled perspective. The charity event concludes. Final donations tallied, 7 figures raised for children's treatment wing. Success by every measure, applause, thunderous gratitude, palpable legacy secured. Stephen thanks everyone, bows to masters, present returns artifacts to case with ceremonial care, with practiced reverence, with appropriate honor. Melissa slips away, back to regular service, to mundane tasks of restaurant work, carrying plates, filling glasses, clearing tables. But everything has changed. Her perspective shifted, her mockery revealed as ignorance, made public as arrogance, exposed as judgment, rendered without knowledge, without understanding, without wisdom. The other servers notice her subdued manner, her humbled demeanor, her quiet efficiency. Where once was loud opinions, hasty judgments, superior attitude. The afternoon progresses toward evening service, the restaurant returning to normal operations, to regular reservations, to familiar routines, except nothing feels normal to Melissa anymore. The foundations shaken, the certainties questioned, the comfortable assumptions revealed as shallow, as ignorant, as embarrassingly naive. At staff meeting before dinner service, Eric makes announcement that stops her heart, that freezes her blood, that completes her dread. Tonight, Stephen hosts special dinner for martial arts masters from around world, all gathered for convention, all visiting our restaurant, all expecting excellence in service, in respect, in understanding. He pauses, looking directly at Melissa, making connection unmistakable, making message clear, making expectation explicit, and specifically requested. Melissa, as lead server for head table, the staff turns to her, some with surprise, some with concern, some with envy, not understanding significance, not seeing punishment in what appears reward, not recognizing trial by fire about to begin. She approaches Eric after meeting, voice barely audible, heart pounding visible in throat. I can't, I shouldn't, not after yesterday, not after video, not after everything. Eric's expression unreadable. The choice isn't yours, the request wasn't optional, the lesson isn't complete. He walks away, leaving her trembling in empty meeting room with realization that public revelation was only beginning. That private understanding must become public acknowledgement, that personal growth requires external demonstration. The evening arrives, masters entering restaurant, 15 countries represented, 7 martial arts traditions, centuries of combined experience, all in formal attire, all carrying themselves with unmistakable presence, with earned confidence, with embodied discipline. The head table waits, center of dining room, Stephen's customary place, now surrounded by dignitaries, by living legends, by keepers of tradition, all aware of her viral video, all having seen her mockery, all watching her approach with professional smile, with internal terror, with nowhere to hide. She delivers menus, hands shaking, visible, voice barely steady, eyes unable to meet those gathered at table. Stephen introduces her. This is Melissa, who will take excellent care of us this evening. No mention of yesterday, no reference to video, no acknowledgement of context, that everyone knows, that everyone remembers, that everyone waits to see addressed. The meal begins, course after course, Melissa serving with mechanical precision, with desperate focus, with internal mantra, don't trip, don't spill, don't speak unless spoken to. The master's converse in multiple languages, switching effortlessly between Japanese and English, between Korean and Chinese, between Portuguese and French, discussing techniques, preserving traditions, honoring lineages. She listens, while serving education continuing beyond formal demonstration beyond. Official presentation into casual conversation, into unguarded moments, into authentic exchange between courses. A Korean grandmaster asks about viral video question direct, unavoidable, undisguisable. So you are one who mocked our colleague in his own establishment without knowing history, without respecting journey. The table falls silent, all eyes on Melissa, all attention focused, all judgment imminent. She stands frozen, tray in hand. Escape impossible, denial, futile, truth, unavoidable. Yes, sir, that was me. I was wrong. I was ignorant. I was disrespectful. Her voice steadies as truth emerges, as responsibility accepted, as character revealed in crisis moment. I judged without knowledge. I mocked without understanding. I diminished what I didn't comprehend. And I'm deeply sorry, not just because I was caught, not just because I was wrong, but because I failed to see beyond surface, to look beyond assumptions, to understand beyond stereotypes. The silence continues. Masters exchanging glances, Stephen watching. Carefully, Melissa is standing, exposed before jury of experts, before witnesses to transformation, before judges of character. Then the eldest master speaks Japanese with translator voice, carrying wisdom of 9 decades lived, of 7 decades trained. Of countless lessons learned in martial arts, we value most not perfect technique, not flawless execution, not unstoppable force, but honest recognition of one's own weaknesses, one's own failures, one's own path to improvement. He looks at Melissa's eyes, holding hers, connection forming across generations, across cultures, across mistakes made and wisdom gained. This one has begun true learning, has faced true opponent, has shown true courage in confronting herself. The table murmurs agreement, tension dissolving, judgment transforming into acceptance, into recognition, into inclusion. Stephen nods, once small gesture, massive significance. Approval granted, lesson acknowledged, growth recognized. Dinner continues. Melissa included now in occasional questions. In appropriate moments in educational exchange. The final course served, dessert presented, tea poured with steady hands. Now with growing confidence, with earned presence. As meal concludes, the masters prepare to leave, each stopping to address her, each offering small wisdom, each participating in collective teaching and shared responsibility in cultural transmission. The Brazilian master reminds, fall 7 times, stand up 8. The Chinese Sifu advises, better to light candle than curse darkness. The Korean grandmaster suggests, mountain cannot see, own peak needs distance for perspective. Each statement simple, each meaning layered, each lesson personalized to her specific failure, to her particular growth, to her individual journey. As last guests depart, Stephen remains seated, motions for her to join him, empty chair, waiting invitation, clear conversation, inevitable. She sits, hands folded in lap, eyes finally able to meet his directly, to face judgment, to accept whatever comes. As soon she begins. This was part of lesson, making me serve them, making me face them, making me admit publicly. Stephen's expression unchanges, neither confirming nor denying, neither prideful nor apologetic, simply present, simply aware, simply authentic. If seeking to punish you was my goal, he finally speaks, I have failed completely in teaching you anything of value. Melissa stares at Stephen, confusion evident, understanding incomplete, lesson unfinished. If not punishment, then what was this? What purpose served? What goal achieved? By public exposure? By orchestrated confrontation? By deliberate discomfort? Stephen considers, question, teacup held thoughtfully, steam rising between them, like veil temporarily obscuring truth, still emerging wisdom, still forming understanding. Still developing. In Aikido, we never meet force with force, never answer aggression with aggression, never respond to attack with attack. He demonstrates with hands, one fist pushing forward, other hand redirecting, not blocking, not stopping, but guiding. Changing direction, transforming energy. What you experienced tonight was not punishment, but redirection of energy already in motion, of momentum already created, of force already generated. Melissa listens, beginning to comprehend the subtle difference between punitive justice and transformative education, between shame as weapon and discomfort as teacher. The masters asked to meet you. Stephen continues, after seeing video, after witnessing demonstration, after understanding context, not to judge you, but to complete circle of learning begun yesterday, of transformation initiated through uncomfortable revelation, through necessary confrontation with consequences of actions. She nods slowly, pieces connecting, picture forming, purpose clarifying. Of Orchestrated evening of curated experience of deliberate design and now. She asks what happens next. What consequence remains? What judgment awaits? Stephen smiles, first genuine warmth directed personally toward her since mockery began that depends entirely on what you've learned, on how you've changed, on who you choose to become after tonight. He stands indicating conversations in lesson delivered. Choice now hers, path now determined by her response to wisdom offered, but before leaving, he places small card on table, between them simple white rectangle with black text, name and address of local dojo affiliated with his lineage, first class Monday. 6 a.m. sharp. If you're interested in beginning actual education about what you thought you already understood. He walks away, no further explanation, no additional pressure, no expectation voiced, just opportunity presented, just invitation extended. Just possibility offered. Melissa holds card, fingers tracing embossed letters, mind racing with implications, with possibilities, with potential futures diverging from this moment, from this choice, from this turning point. Eric approaches, observing card in her hand, understanding significance of offer extended, of honor provided, of opportunity rare. He chose you, Eric states, simply not explanation, but confirmation of exceptional nature of moment experienced. What do you mean? Melissa asks, still not fully comprehending magnitude of gesture, weight of invitation, significance of opportunity. Eric sits where Stephen vacated, continuing transmission of understanding, of context, of meaning. In 20 years, I've seen him offer personal instruction to exactly 3 people, all showing something he considers essential for true student. Melissa looks down at card, now understanding weight of small rectangle, of simple invitation, of profound opportunity. What quality? She asks, voice barely audible, hope, barely contained curiosity, barely restrained. Eric smiles, recognizing hunger for understanding, for knowledge, for wisdom, beginning to grow where mockery once flourished, humility enough to recognize ignorance, courage enough to face consequences, character enough to begin again from proper starting point, from beginner's mind, from empty cup, ready to fill the restaurant, empty staff, cleaning, resetting tables, preparing for tomorrow. Regular rhythm resumed after extraordinary interruption. Melissa completes duties, mind elsewhere, on Monday morning, on 6 a.m. class, on beginning journey from genuine starting point, not from assumed knowledge, not from borrowed understanding, not from superficial judgment. At employee exit, hero waits, chef's coat exchanged for training uniform, for martial GI, for practitioner's garb. You decide yet? He asks, knowing of invitation, aware of significance, recognizing potential in reformed critic. She nods, decision made, path chosen, journey accepted. Hero smiles, approval granted. Welcome, extended community opened. I trained there 10 years. He shares, never special treatment, never easy passage, never lowered standards, but always fair assessment, always honest feedback, always genuine progress. He shows calloused hands earned through practice, through dedication, through persistence. These not from knives only, but from training, from falling thousands times, from getting up thousands times plus one. Melissa understands suddenly the connection, deeper the community, wider the lineage. Longer than she ever imagined. You'll need this. Hero hands her small bag, inside basic white GI training uniform, beginner's garb, first step, physical, on journey, spiritual. I can't accept. She begins, overwhelmed by kindness, undeserved after behavior, unexpected after mockery. Hero interrupts, not gift loan only, until first paycheck after probation ends. Then you buy own, then you earn own, then you understand value of what is given versus what is earned. She accepts package, gratitude overwhelming. Words inadequate for kindness shown, for opportunity offered, for wisdom shared. They walk together to parking lot, to separate vehicles, to shared destination. Monday morning, when new path begins, when true education starts, when transformation continues. Before parting, hero offers final wisdom of evening, filled with lessons learned, with understanding gained, with perspective shifted. Most think martial arts about fighting others, actually about fighting yourself, overcoming own weakness, confronting own flaws, defeating own limitations. She drives home, mind replaying events of past 48 hours of journey undertaken, from mockery to understanding, from judgment to education, from arrogance to humility. The viral video still circulates, comments still accumulate, judgments still proliferate from those who witnessed only her mistake, not her education, not her transformation, not her beginning. But now she sees beyond surface, beyond temporary embarrassment, beyond transient humiliation, to deeper purpose, to meaningful growth, to authentic development. At home, She places uniform carefully on bedroom chair, white fabric glowing in moonlight, through window, like beacon, like invitation, like promise before sleep, claims her. She searches online, finds founders. Quotations reads, until eyes heavy mind, full heart opening to wisdom previously dismissed, to tradition previously mocked, to journey previously judged, true victory is victory over oneself. Words following her into dreams, into unconscious, into transformation. Continuing even in sleep, even in rest, even in surrender to process begun, but nowhere near completed. Monday approaches 6 a.m. waits. First class looms, beginning offered path, open journey invited. What happens next depends entirely on choices made. On discipline developed, on character revealed, when mockery's echoes fade, when judgment's consequences end, when true education finally begins. Monday morning arrives 5 a.m. alarm darkness, still holding city, still sleeping Melissa, already awake. Anticipation preventing rest, nervousness creating alertness, commitment overcoming comfort. She dresses in borrowed GI, white cotton, stiff with newness, belt awkward and untrained, hands not washed, on tutorial video practiced 10 times before bed. Still imperfect in execution, still beginner in every way, still starting from true beginning. The drive to dojo streets, empty mind, full heart, racing with uncertainty, with possibility, with vulnerability, unfamiliar emotions for someone accustomed to certainty of judgment, to confidence of criticism, to safety of cynicism. The building simple, unadorned exterior, no flashy signage, no commercial appeal, no marketing evident, just small wooden plaque with Japanese characters and English translation. Center for Traditional Aikido Study. Inside, shoes removed at entrance, hardwood floors, gleaming walls bare, except for calligraphy scrolls black and white, photographs of masters long deceased, of lineage continuing, of tradition preserved. Other students arrived diverse in age and ethnicity, in body type, in apparent ability, but unified in respect, in focused preparation, in quiet dedication to practice. About to begin, Melissa stands uncertainly at practice area edge, not knowing protocols, not understanding etiquette, not belonging, yet to community gathered. Hero appears, already changed, already prepared, already centered, motions her to follow, to observe, to mimic actions of those more experienced, of those further along path, of those once beginners themselves. She follows instructions, bowing when others bow, kneeling when others kneel, sitting in size, a position uncomfortable on unaccustomed legs, pain, immediate reminder of limitations, physical matching limitations, philosophical, both requiring dedicated work. To overcome, to transcend, to transform. The door slides open. Stephen enters, not in flashy entrance, not with dramatic flourish, not with celebrity aura, but quietly, humbly, purposefully. He wears simple black GI, worn with use, faded with washing, belt showing. Years of dedicated practice, of consistent training, of serious study. Students bow deeply, respect evident, not from fear, not from fame, but from earned position and hierarchy of skill, in lineage of tradition, in community of practice. Class begins. Warm-ups. First, stretching bodies, preparing minds, creating space between outside world and practice. About to begin, between habitual patterns and new possibilities, between who they were before entering dojo and who they might become through dedicated practice. Melissa follows along, awkward in movements, uncertain in positions, struggling with coordination, with balance, with timing, with everything unfamiliar, to untrained body, to unprepared mind, to unhumbled spirit. Stephen demonstrates first technique with senior student, movement, fluid execution, flawless energy, redirected attack, neutralized, without apparent effort, without visible strain, without dramatic flourish. Then explanation follows, broken into components, into manageable segments, into learnable pieces. For beginners to grasp, for novices to attempt, for newcomers to approach. Students pair up. Melissa stands alone, uncertain, unsure, uninitiated. Stephen approaches, surprising everyone. Master working directly with absolute beginner, with newest student. With yesterday's critic, he speaks quietly, for her ears, only for her benefit alone, for her education. Specific first lesson, most important, understanding not in mind, but in body, not in theory, but in practice, not in watching, but in doing. She nods, throat tight with emotion, with gratitude, unexpected, with honor, undeserved. He demonstrates attack, simple grab to wrist, beginner movement, foundation technique, starting point for journey of 1,000 miles, of million repetitions, of lifetime practice. She attempts Response: awkward, uncoordinated, ineffective. He corrects gently, adjusts position, slightly shifts weight, minimally changes angle, subtly, transforming failure into partial success, into beginning understanding, into first step taken for 15 minutes. He works with her patience, unlimited attention, undivided instruction, personalized to her specific needs, to her particular challenges, to her individual journey, then moves to next student, leaving her to practice with partner assigned with movement. Introduced with seed planted that requires now her cultivation, her dedication, her commitment to grow properly. The hour passes quickly, filled with attempts, with failures, with tiny successes, with muscles protesting, with mind struggling, with ego surrendering, to difficulty authentic, of skill genuine, of practice real. Class concludes formal bowing ceremony. Gratitude expressed to teacher, to partners, to tradition, to opportunity for lessons, shared for practice, offered for growth, possible students disperse, to changing rooms, to waiting day, to regular lives transformed slightly by practice undertaken. By discipline embraced, by community joined. Melissa approaches Stephen after others leave, after dojo empties, after silence returns. Thank you words, inadequate gratitude, overflowing humility, newfound in simple phrase, in genuine feeling, in authentic expression. He nods acknowledgement, given gratitude, accepted journey recognized. This is not about me, he clarifies, not about my forgiveness, not about my approval, not about my recognition, but about your path, your practice, your development. She understands. Suddenly, the shift required from external validation to internal cultivation, from others' judgment to self-discipline, from seeking approval to pursuing mastery. 1 year later, the restaurant has changed. New addition completed, private dining room. Expanded display case installed permanently, housing rotating exhibition of martial arts artifacts, of cultural treasures, of historical documents, each with description, with provenance, with educational purpose. Tourists visit now not just for food, but for museum quality displays, for glimpse into tradition, for education offered alongside culinary experience. Melissa still serves tables, still works shifts, still performs duties of restaurant employee, but something transformed and bearing in. Presence and character visible, to observant noticeable, to attentive apparent, to discerning. The viral video still exists, still circulates occasionally, still generates comments, but context added now, with follow-up story, with transformation documented, with journey shared by local news, by martial arts publications, by educational institutions, studying power of redemption, through discipline growth, through humility wisdom, through practice. The display case features photograph now of Stephen with masters from that pivotal evening, from that turning point, from that educational moment. Beside its smaller picture, less prominent but present, of beginners class, first rank promotions, white belts, becoming something more through dedicated practice, through consistent effort, through genuine commitment. Melissa appears in back row, face serious posture, improved character developing through visible discipline, through daily choice, through sustained effort. Tourists rarely notice second photograph. Its significance unclear to casual observer, to uninitiated viewer, to outside perspective, but regular customers, no staff understands community, recognizes the greater victory, the deeper achievement, the more significant transformation captured. In simple image of former mocker, now humble student, of former critic, now dedicated practitioner, of former judge, now disciplined seeker. In employee area, new addition, appears suggestion box, replaced by simple wooden frame containing handwritten quote. The purpose of training is to tighten up the slack, toughen the body, and polish the spirit. Morihei Ueshiba, founder of Aikido. Below this smaller edition in different handwriting. True victory is not over others, but over the discord within oneself. Each employee passing, each server starting shift, each cook preparing station sees reminder daily of transformation possible, of redemption available, of growth potential, through practice consistent, through effort sustained, through humility embrace. Stephen visits monthly, now still owner, still practitioner, still teacher, dividing time between film projects, minimal charitable work, substantial educational efforts. Primary at this stage of life, at this point of journey, at this level of understanding. The restaurant thrives not just as business, but as cultural center, as educational space, as transformative environment where meals nourish bodies, while artifacts feed minds, while practice transforms spirits, of those willing to learn, of those ready to grow, of those humble enough to begin from beginning. 5. Years later, the restaurant has expanded 3 locations now, each with display cases, each with cultural artifacts, each with educational purpose beyond culinary experience, beyond profit motive, beyond celebrity attachment. Iquitos has become cultural. Institution Educational Center Community Cornerstone, where food serves as vehicle for deeper nourishment, for wider understanding, for broader appreciation of traditions, preserved of wisdom, transmitted of disciplines. Honored Melissa no longer serves tables, no longer carries trays, no longer takes orders. Her journey transformed, her path redirected, her purpose clarified. Through daily practice, through consistent effort, through genuine commitment, she teaches now beginner classes at Original Dojo. 3 mornings weekly before restaurant shifts. As assistant manager of educational programs, Stephen created for underprivileged youth, for at-risk teenagers, for seeking adults. Her viral moment long faded from memory of internet's collective consciousness, but preserved intentionally in orientation materials for new employees, for program participants, for dojo students, not as embarrassment, not as cautionary tale, not as shameful reminder, but as testament to transformation possible, to growth available, to redemption achievable, through humility embraced, through discipline applied, through perspective shifted. The video plays during orientation. Melissa, present Melissa, narrating Melissa, contextualizing what viewers witness, what beginners observe, what newcomers learn. I thought I knew what I was seeing. I thought I understood what I was judging. I thought I recognized what I was mocking. I was completely wrong on every level possible. No bitterness in voice, no shame in presentation, no regret in sharing, just authentic acknowledgement of journeys, beginning of wisdom's genesis of transformations. Seed new employees watch, sometimes uncomfortable, sometimes embarrassed, sometimes judgmental, until understanding dawns, that vulnerability displayed is strength revealed, is wisdom embodied, is leadership demonstrated. The orientation continues through restaurant tour, through artifact explanation, through philosophy introduction. Melissa, leading with quiet confidence, with earned authority, with embodied knowledge, not from position granted, but from wisdom developed through years of practice, through dedicated study, through consistent effort. Final stop, always same display case, newest added last anniversary, containing items unexpected, surprising, to uninitiated, meaningful, to community first. Viral video playing on small discrete screen. Melissa mocking Stephen in continuous loop, deliberate reminder of ignorance possible, of judgment premature, of arrogance dangerous. Beside this second screen shows training montage. Melissa as beginner, awkward in movements, struggling with basics, persisting through difficulty year after year, belt changing colors, skill developing visibly, character transforming evidently through dedicated practice, through consistent effort, through genuine commitment. Final screen displays recent demonstration. Melissa now teaching children from hospital, same charity program 5 years later. Her movements fluid, her instruction clear, her presence authentic, passing forward what was given freely, what was earned painfully, what was developed gradually between screens. Simple artifacts displayed. Borrowed GI now returned first, earned belt now, preserved journal filled with daily reflections on practice, physical, on development, spiritual, on transformation, personal. The case bears plaque with simple inscription: the most powerful victory is not defeat of an opponent, but transformation of oneself from who we were into who we might become. New employees stand before this display, before this testament, before this evidence of possibility available to each who chooses the harder path, the disciplined journey, the authentic development. Each orientation concludes with Melissa's question to newly hired, to recently joined, to freshly committed: what mockery lives in you? What judgment limits you? What arrogance blinds you to possibilities beyond your current understanding? The hour passes quickly, filled with attempts, with failures, with tiny successes, with muscles protesting, with mind struggling, with ego surrendering to difficulty. Authentic of skill, genuine of practice, real class concludes formal bowing ceremony. Gratitude expressed to teacher, to partners, to tradition, to opportunity for lessons shared, for practice offered, for growth possible. Students disperse to changing rooms, to waiting day, to regular lives transformed slightly by practice undertaken, by discipline embraced, by community joined. Melissa approaches Stephen after others leave, after dojo empties, after silence returns. Thank you words, inadequate gratitude, overflowing humility, newfound in simple phrase, in genuine feeling, inauthentic Expression he nods acknowledgement given gratitude accepted journey recognized. This is not about me, he clarifies, not about my forgiveness, not about my approval, not about my recognition, but about your path, your practice, your development, she understands. Suddenly the shift required from external validation to internal cultivation, from others' judgment to self-discipline, from seeking approval to pursuing mastery. 1 year later, the restaurant has changed. New addition completed, private dining room. Expanded display case installed permanently, housing rotating exhibition of martial arts artifacts, of cultural treasures, of historical documents, each with description, with provenance, with educational purpose. Tourists visit now not just for food, but for museum quality displays, for glimpse into tradition, for education offered alongside culinary experience. Melissa still serves tables, still works shifts, still performs duties of restaurant employee, but something transformed and bearing in. Presence and character visible, to observant noticeable, to attentive apparent, to discerning. The viral video still exists, still circulates occasionally, still generates comments, but context added now, with follow-up story, with transformation documented, with journeys shared by local news, by martial arts publications, by educational institutions, studying power of redemption, through discipline growth, through humility wisdom, through practice. The display case features photograph now of Stephen with masters from that pivotal evening, from that turning point, from that educational moment. Beside its smaller picture, less prominent but present, of beginners class, first rank promotions, white belts, becoming something more through dedicated practice, through consistent effort, through genuine commitment. Melissa appears in back row, face, serious posture, improved character developing through visible discipline, through daily choice, through sustained effort. Tourists rarely notice second photograph. Its significance unclear to casual observer, to uninitiated viewer, to outside perspective, but regular customers, no staff, understands community, recognizes the greater victory, the deeper achievement, the more significant transformation captured. In simple image of former mocker, now humble student, of former critic, now dedicated practitioner, of former judge, now disciplined seeker. In employee area, new addition appears suggestion box, replaced by simple wooden frame containing handwritten quote, "The purpose of training is to tighten up the slack, toughen the body, and polish the spirit." Morihei Ueshiba, founder of Aikido. Below this smaller edition in different handwriting. True victory is not over others, but over the discord within oneself. Each employee passing, each server starting shift, each cook preparing station sees reminder daily of transformation possible, of redemption available, of growth potential through practice consistent, through effort sustained, through humility embrace. Stephen visits monthly, now still owner, still practitioner, still teacher, dividing time between film projects, minimal charitable work, substantial educational efforts. Primary at this stage of life, at this point of journey, at this level of understanding. The restaurant thrives not just as business, but as cultural center, as educational space, as transformative environment where meals nourish bodies, while artifacts feed minds, while practice transforms spirits, of those willing to learn, of those ready to grow, of those humble enough to begin from beginning. 5 years later, the restaurant has expanded 3 locations now, each with display cases, each with cultural artifacts, each with educational purpose beyond culinary experience, beyond profit motive, beyond celebrity attachment. Aikido's has become cultural institution, educational center, community cornerstone, where food serves as vehicle for deeper nourishment, for wider understanding, for broader appreciation of traditions, preserved, of wisdom transmitted, of disciplines honored. Melissa no longer serves tables, no longer carries trays, no longer takes orders. Her journey transformed, her path redirected, her purpose clarified through daily practice, through consistent effort, through genuine commitment. She teaches now beginner classes at Original Dojo 3 mornings weekly before restaurant shifts. As assistant manager of educational programs, Stephen created for underprivileged youth, for at-risk teenagers, for seeking adults. Her viral moment long faded from memory of internet's collective consciousness, but preserved intentionally in orientation materials for new employees, for program participants, for dojo students, not as embarrassment, not as cautionary tale, not as shameful reminder, but as testament to transformation possible, to growth available, to redemption achievable, through humility embraced, through discipline applied, through perspective shifted. The video plays during orientation Melissa, present Melissa, narrating Melissa, contextualizing what viewers witness, what beginners observe. What newcomers learn. I thought I knew what I was seeing. I thought I understood what I was judging. I thought I recognized what I was mocking. I was completely wrong on every level possible. No bitterness in voice, no shame in presentation, no regret. In sharing, just authentic acknowledgement of journeys, beginning of wisdom's genesis of transformations. Seed new employees watch, sometimes uncomfortable, sometimes embarrassed, sometimes judgmental, until understanding dawns, that vulnerability displayed. Is strength revealed? Is wisdom embodied? Is leadership demonstrated? The orientation continues through restaurant tour, through artifact explanation, through philosophy introduction. Melissa, leading with quiet confidence, with earned authority, with embodied knowledge, not from position granted, but from wisdom developed through years of practice, through dedicated study, through consistent effort. Final stop, always same display case, newest added last anniversary, containing items unexpected, surprising. To uninitiated, meaningful. To community, first viral video. Playing on small discrete screen. Melissa mocking Stephen in continuous loop. Deliberate reminder of ignorance possible, of judgment premature, of arrogance dangerous. Beside this second screen shows training montage. Melissa as beginner, awkward in movements, struggling with basics, persisting through difficulty year after year. Belt changing colors, skill developing visibly, character transforming evidently through dedicated practice, through consistent effort, through genuine commitment. Final screen displays recent demonstration. Melissa now teaching children from hospital, same charity program 5 years later. Her movements fluid, her instruction clear, her presence authentic, passing forward what was given freely, what was earned painfully, what was developed gradually between screens. Simple artifacts displayed. Borrowed GI now returned, first earned belt now preserved, journal filled with daily reflections on practice, physical, on development, spiritual, on transformation, personal. The case bears plaque with simple inscription. The most powerful victory is not defeat of an opponent, but transformation of oneself from who we were into who we might become. New employees stand before this display, before this testament, before this evidence of possibility available to each who chooses the harder path, the disciplined journey, the authentic development. Each orientation concludes with Melissa's question to newly hired, to recently joined, to freshly committed. What mockery lives in you? What judgment limits you? What arrogance blinds you? To possibilities beyond your current understanding.